What's poppin', everybody? This is SaberWolf94. So by now I'm sure most of you guys that are looking forward to the Pokemon Sword and Shield know what's going on with the whole Pokedex thing. There won't be a national dex. They're gonna cut the Pokedex up by an unknown amount. We still don't know how many Pokemon are gonna be included there from the past generations. But Junichi Masuda already addressed this issue. He made an interview with usgamer, and I have the excerpt right here. I'm only going to focus on his response regarding the National Pokedex. If you guys want to read the whole thing, you can go on usgamer and do that. But the guy asked him basically what's going on with the Pokedex, why did they come to this decision, and this is what he had to say. There are a couple of different parts to the thinking behind it, but really the biggest reason for it is just the sheer number of Pokemon. We already have well over 800 Pokemon species, and there's going to be more added in these games. And now that they're on the Nintendo Switch, we're creating it with much higher fidelity, with higher quality animations. But even more than that, it's coming down to the battle system. We're making sure we can keep everything balanced and give all the Pokemon that appear in the games a chance to shine. We knew at some point we weren't going to be able to indefinitely keep supporting all of the Pokemon, and we just found that Sword and Shield would probably be a good point to go back and reevaluate what will be the best selection of Pokemon that appeal to the widest audience while keeping into consideration the balance of the battle system. It isn't just going to be all new Pokemon in the Galar region Pokedex, there's still going to be a lot of favorites that fans will be able to bring over that they're adventured with previously. But yeah, it was pretty much just balancing and getting this optimal selection of Pokemon for the adventure we wanted to provide. Alright, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I love Junichi Masuda. He's the director of some of my favorite Pokemon games, the 3rd generation games, the 4th generation games, but these are basically, whether he really believes what he's saying, or whether it's just he's saying this to damage control, because a lot of the times when you're dealing with companies, you're dealing with information like this for journalism, you can't just say whatever the hell you want. They kind of have to say some things, even if they don't completely agree with them, you know? But whether he's just doing this for the sake of the company, whether he really believes this, these are all just excuses. Now, what he's saying about the sheer number of Pokemon that just keeps growing with every generation and the Pokedex keeps getting bigger, that's true. It is a legitimate concern. If their aim is still to make these new Pokemon games when the new generation comes out every 3 years, around 3 years time, then yeah, there's a good chance you're not going to have you won't be able to program all of them if they keep growing and you're still only fixed on a 3-year time span to make this game. But you know what? This is Pokemon we're talking about. We're not just talking about the development of a basic video game. As the scope keeps getting bigger, obviously you're going to need more development time. They basically really just had two options. The one they did here, which is just to cut Pokemon to keep up with a 3-year development cycle, or do the game in 4 years, perhaps hire more staff. But this is what you have to do. It's Pokemon. The skill needs to go up, not go down. But it seems they chose the former. They chose to cut Pokemon instead, keep up with the 3-year development cycle, and just go that route. What's more worrying is the second part where he says that they knew they were going to do this someday, which means that this is going to be the actual approach. They're still going to be thinking with this sort of mindset, and all future Pokemon games are going to follow suit. And instead of adding Pokemon and keeping all the other Pokemon, they're going to be cutting the Pokedex. And we're only going to have, like, I don't know, 500, 600. I'm hoping there's at least going to be that many. But nevertheless, it's a huge letdown. And I know that he says that they're going to try and figure out what the most popular Pokemon are, and they're going to put those, of course. But, what about those people that maybe have obscure Pokemon as favorites? Like, maybe my favorite Pokemon is fucking Lovedisk. It's not Lovedisk as Salamence, actually, but maybe some people just have some of the less popular Pokemon, more forgotten Pokemon. They like them. What are you going to do? I guess you're going to screw them over. The stuff he said about the metagame also doesn't hold up, because in singles and Smogon, if you guys are familiar, we have tiers. I don't play competitive anymore. I don't have the time, but they basically have tiers. So, the weak-ass Pokemon go up in the never-used tier, you got underused tier, you got overused tier. So what this essentially is just going to do is it just limits the people that maybe want to use let's say some of the weaker Pokemon in the overused tier. It's going to make a tighter metagame, but it doesn't really matter because it just limits the metagame. If we had more Pokemon and there's more weak Pokemon, more strong Pokemon, they get separated into tiers. And then people that want to use whatever the hell, even Pokemon deemed as weak in the overused tier, they do that. He's talking about quality animations and the graphical fidelity of the Pokemon. Sun and Moon was on the 3DS. Like all of the Sun and Moon games were on the 3DS, and they managed to squeeze 800 Pokemon in those games. Now, granted, I think they don't all show up in the Pokedex, or maybe they do in Sun and Moon, the Ultra Sun and Moon games. But come on, we're talking about the 3DS here. You're telling me a system like the Nintendo Switch, which God knows how much more powerful in comparison is to the 3DS. I'm not an engineer or a spec expert or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. I just really just believe it's just a time thing. They can't do it because of the time, because they have to follow the release pattern for everything else. And like I said, he probably can't go in an interview and say, yeah, we got to do this the way we do it because the TCG stuff needs to come out at the same time, the anime, all the figures, the toys, all the other merchandise. He can't do that because it's just gonna piss people off even more, knowing that it's just because of this reason. But that's the reality. It's basically business. The Pokemon Company, Nintendo, they follow this specific pattern. Like I've said on my other video, there was an exception, the Diamond and Pearl era, where they took 4 years to make that game. And if you look at the EX era, the golden age of the TCG, we actually have the biggest number of TCG sets, 16 of them. And man, that was the golden age. That was the best era. But that's the reality. But they're not going to do this. They won't spend more development time, probably lose more money because they're thinking is that enough people are going to buy the games anyway, and it's just a sacrifice that they're willing to do to keep up with the pattern. I would accept this reality if the game was going to come out on 3DS or something and they say, hey, you know what, we really can't just fit all of them. It's impossible. But this is Nintendo Switch, and as technology progresses, we get better systems capable of more things. It's not impossible to fit all the Pokemon while adding more Pokemon. And that's the other thing with the whole 4-year thing is that, yeah, coming out every 3 years and introducing more Pokemon, it's a big thing, which is why they're sort of decreasing the amount of Pokemon they release. Like ever since Black and White, we've been getting like 80 Pokemon, at best like 100 Pokemon with the Mega Forms, with the Alolan Forms, all that shit. But that's not, this is why you need to just take up more time. Pokemon is that kind of game. Take up more time and release a top class game that basically no other franchise can compete with. I mean, it's Pokemon, it's gonna sell millions anyway. I doubt that it's money the problem. It's just basically maximizing time and the money and just keeping up with the pattern, like I've said. They just can't break that. They gotta keep doing that 3-year cycle thing like Yu-Gi-Oh does or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna go off topic. These are all my thoughts. I can't really think of anything else to say. I don't really mean to keep covering this. This is a TCG channel, but this is important news, and I can't just ignore this sort of almost pathetic response. Like, I know he probably is smarter than that, and he can't just say, it's because we got to do this in 3 years. We don't have enough time. That's how it is. But, these are all excuses. They could make it possible if they wanted to. And the last thing before I forget, this is important. I've seen this whole movement going on, the hashtag bring back the national decks, and all the people complaining, all the backlash, criticism, that's good, that's correct. We need to share our thoughts. But if you guys are thinking that this is going to amount to anything, do the criticism, say what you feel, what you think, but they're not going to make any changes, at least for this game. The Pokemon games, what they do is that it's been in development for a long time, 3 years, and just about 5 or 6 months is when they start hyping up the game, revealing a little bit of things here and there. But basically the core game is probably finished. Like the foundations, everything is finished, and they won't be able to change shit up. There will have to be major delays. So if they're gonna stick by that release date they announced, they won't be able to do it. Now, I'm not a gaming expert, a development expert, so maybe later with a patch, I have no idea if it's even possible. But my guess is for this specific game, the Pokemon Sword and Shield games, there won't be any national decks. They probably thought about this for a long while and came down to this decision. So hopefully they change up their minds for future games. I mean, I kind of doubt that. I don't see them breaking away from this pattern. But yeah, that's the situation. This is precisely the time where the money talks phrase is the most important. You know, if people complain and just end up buying this game, then it's all for nothing. If sales really just don't meet up expectations, like if really, half of more of the fans that always buy the Pokemon games just skip on them, then it's going to send them a message. And then maybe they'll be like, okay, we're pretty much successfully alienated all of the OG fans. Are we really going to go through with this? But I mean, it's just a thing with the franchise changing. I think they're okay alienating the OGs and bringing on the new kids, new faces in the game. It just happens all the time with franchises. I've seen it over and over with Yu-Gi-Oh, going back to that again, and Pokemon. It's been changing slowly and slowly for a long time, not really appealing to the OGs. So whether or not we buy it or not, maybe it's not going to make any difference. Like the decisions have been made, and the writing is on the wall. This is the direction Pokemon is going to be going. And I'm not even going to go about thoughts on when the true reboot happened and whatever. But this is the video, guys. I'll be back with my usual TCG. This is just too important to ignore. I have strong opinions about these things, so I had to talk about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed nevertheless. Hope you guys subscribe to my channel for TCG stuff. Share this video with your friends and like it. I imagine most of the people that play the TCG play the video games too to some extent. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. This has been Sabre 94 with Say.